Hello and welcome back to Go Again Gaming. My name is Az, and today we're going to be taking a look at Viserai, which is the Runeblade class for Flesh and Blood. Well, the first Runeblade class that was released. And if you can see behind me, I think my nameplate is in the way, I have recently opened a box of Arcane Rising. So I've finally got my hand on Viserai, the Runeblood. So I'm going to be building this deck imminently, with the cards that I pulled from the Arcane Rising box, and also I'm going to be making up all the other characters as well, just so me and my friends can play some Ultimate Pit Fight and put it on the channel to see how it goes. But yeah, Viserai is the character that I want to build for casual, competitive, sort of tournament-style play. I'm not really going to be getting into the competitive scene, but if there was a deck that I could take to a tournament, it would be Viserai. So I'm going to be building it out of the cards that I've got, maybe buying some singles here and there. But yeah, Viserai is definitely right down my street, and this is Viserai Runeblood. So he is a Runeblade character which wields both sword and sorcery to take down your foes, and it implements a new mechanic in Arcane Rising in the form of arcane damage and rune chant tokens. So the more rune chant tokens you have, the more they're going to pop off and deal unblockable arcane damage to your opponents, as well as your normal melee damage. So really thematic, all about sort of building up your rune chants and, you know, utilising different cards that care about the amount of rune chants that you have, and sort of payoffs and benefits for having those. So let's go on to the browser share so you can see the main page of Viserai. So let's transition. So yeah, this is Viserai the Runeblood, as you can see. Looks like an awesome character. It's got this like ethereal Arc Knight sort of stuff coming out of his chest, surrounded by runes. So you can see he's quite a dark character, as well as a very sort of ethereal and magical character. So that's awesome. That's right down my street. Dark, brooding sort of character, but also magical. And here he looks like he's, you know, proper powerful, proper sort of basking in his own glory. So let's have a look at the little plot for him. Viserai is the first of his kind, an Arc Knight, gifted with both arcane power and physical prowess. Forced to serve the will of his master, he has long since forgotten his past and the person that he once was. Wielding blade and aether alike, he is the perfect weapon. So let's have a look at his hero highlights here. So you've got the Arc Knight. So from decorated warrior of Volcor to washed up carcass on the shores of the Demonastery, Lord Sutcliffe had at last found a vassal with enough strength to bear the agonising procedure he sought to prove possible. So he is very much an experiment for the Arc Knight and the Aether. So opening the chest cavity, he replaced Viserai with an Arc Knight shard, carved channels in bone to feed the arcane energy into runic vents etched into his skin, and the first Arc Knight was born. So yeah, an awesome bit of flavour, and obviously the lore video for Viserai will follow this video as well. So make sure you like, share and subscribe and tune into that. Hit the little bell notification if you want to be notified of any future videos. But yeah, so yeah, pretty much awesome. You know, his whole chest cavity has been replaced with an Arc Knight shard, which is one of the most chased cards in the set, by the way, which fuels his Aether and melee abilities and imbues him with arcane sorceries. So yeah, sword and sorcery. The Runeblade is a hybrid fighter, the only true class to be able to wield equal parts magic and might, and split damage types allows a Runeblade to attack from multiple angles, preying on whichever vulnerabilities the enemy may have, which I think is an awesome bit of design space as well. I mean, the fact that you can deal both arcane damage and normal damage is a good way of playing with your opponent's strategies, I think. And then we've got Rune Master. So arcane energy flows through Viserai from the Arc Knight shard inserted into his chest, which he uses to manifest an army of rune chant auras around him, and they will wait poised for the strike of their commander's blade to unleash piercing arcane pain on the target. So rune chants basically can be popped off whenever you hit someone to deal extra arcane damage. So the rune chants read, when you play an attack action card or attack with a weapon, destroy rune chant and deal 1 arcane damage to target opposing hero. So it's when you play. It's when you play a card. It's not when it actually hits. So even if you play an attack card, all the rune chants will then pop off and deal more arcane damage to your opponent. So it's a good way of unless they've got obviously Arcane Barrier, just getting in some damage that they can't really account for, because it's going to be there. It's like damage accumulating over time, which can't be stopped unless they've got Arcane Barrier. So if someone's facing a Runeblade before the game, they're going to want to sort of switch out some of their equipment to deal with some arcane damage, because there's going to be a lot of it coming in with Runeblade classes. So yeah, let's go on to the learn section. This is the first time we've actually used this. I think the learn section comes with all of the newer characters that are in the big sets. So this is a nice way of learning how to play the game and how to play the class that you're selecting. So yeah, this is Viserai. So a hybrid class, obviously. A Runeblade is a class able to wield both sword and sorcery. Being able to deal melee damage and arcane damage allows them to attack from different angles, as we previously went through. Viserai uses non-attack action cards and attack action cards to create rune chant aura tokens that deal arcane damage whenever he attacks. So again, his actual attack doesn't even need to hit for the auras to pop off, which is great. So you've got a couple of examples here. Obviously, we've got the rune chant tokens, which I just showed you in the flesh. Now that I've got some cards, so obviously they're just the tokens that will pop off when you attack. And you've got a card here, for instance, Blood Spill Invocation. So this is a Runeblade action, so it's an aura. So auras obviously stay in the arena until they've been destroyed. It's got Go Again, and it says whenever an attack action card you control hits, destroy a Blood Spill Invocation, then create 3 rune chant tokens. So that's a really good setup actually for this class, because it has Go Again as well. So it's just a little action aura that you can play, which will just spew out rune chant tokens, which will then, whenever you hit someone or whenever you attack again in that same combat chain, potentially ping them for even more arcane damage. So yeah, really cool. Love that. And then we got something here as well, Spellblade Assault, which I did actually get one of as well. So on this example, I can actually show you the actual card, Spellblade Assault. There it is, Spellblade Assault, even though you probably can't see because I'm in the dual screen mode, so you probably won't be able to see that. But yeah, Spellblade Assault is awesome. So it's a Runeblade action attack. So it says create 2 rune chant tokens. So it's just simply an attack card, then creates tokens as a result, which is pretty good. So yeah, that's nice. And it says a typical Viserai deck will have a very balanced mix of non-attack action cards with Go Again and Runeblade attack action cards. The goal is to use your non-attack action cards to turn Viserai's hero ability on, and for each Runeblade card you play thereafter, you create a rune chant token that will threaten to deal arcane damage to the opposing hero whenever you attack. Splitting damage types between attack action cards and arcane damage can be difficult for the opposing hero to defend without depleting all the resources from their hand. So yeah, it's an awesome strategy, and as I just mentioned earlier, it does mess around with your opponents because they do have to decide what sort of type of damage to block. And again, arcane damage is even harder to block unless you have Arcane Barrier. So yeah, hence why I want to go down this route, because it's just going to create a lot of issues for the opponent. I'm a bit of a chaotic player as well, so I just like to have a lot of things that I can do. But yeah, this seems pretty good. You've got some other stuff here. You've got Whisper of the Oracle. So this is a generic action. It says opt 3. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck. You may put them on any top or bottom in any order. Go Again. So it's again a non-attack action card, which would be good in this deck, even though it's generic, would be good in this deck. Oath of the Arc Knight. So that's a Runeblade action. Your next Runeblade attack gains a certain amount of extra damage. Obviously, they come in red, green, red, yellow, and blue variants, depending on the pitch values. You can create a rune chant token and you get to Go Again. So that's a good little setup card as well, which also creates rune chant tokens, which will then also create rune chant tokens with Viserai, etc. Then we've got Spellblade Strike, which is a Runeblade action attack. It's obviously available probably in yellow, blue, and red, and it says create a rune chant token when you attack. So yeah, just lots of different things that are spewing out rune chant tokens for extra damage later on, which is harder to block because obviously the arcane ability. And it says here, again, rune chants and arcane damage. So Viserai deals arcane damage by creating rune chant aura tokens. Whenever you attack, each rune chant aura you control is destroyed and deals 1 arcane damage to the opposing hero. And it says here, arcane damage cannot be defended by the traditional way of defending in combat. Arcane damage can only be stopped by cards that prevent damage, such as cards that have Arcane Barrier, or other things that prevent arcane damage. And then we've got a couple of things here, like Nebula Blade. I do have one of those. I can't bother to show you because you can see it on the screen here. Nebula Blade, so once per turn attack action, you can pay 2 resources to attack with the blade. Does 1 normal damage, but then if it hits, you create a rune chant token. And if you've played a non-attack action card this turn, it gets +3 at the end of turn. So effectively, it's a 4 attack because you're going to be wanting to play non-attack actions in the deck. So yeah, 4 attack on a weapon's quite good, and obviously you get a rune chant token every time it hits, which is lovely. So that's a good weapon. Standard weapon for the Rune Blade. Then we got Spell Blade Strike again, Rune Chant. Just examples of getting more Rune Chant tokens. So then we got some stuff here. So arcane damage. So you got examples of what can block arcane stuff. So you got Null Rune Hood, Null Rune Robe, and Null Rune Gloves, which all have Arcane Barrier 1. So if you're facing a Rune Blade, you want to start putting Arcane Barrier stuff in here to prevent that arcane damage. And then we got Irina's Prayer, which I've actually got a playset of. I've got a red, yellow, and blue one. So reveal the top card of your deck, prevent the next arcane damage that would be dealt to you this turn, where X is 6 minus the pitch value of the card revealed this way. So that's good. That's a very, very good card against arcane players. If you have a lot of Irina's Prayers in there, it's a good way of sort of getting rid of the arcane damage and hosing some big arcane attacks. So that's quite a good card, Irina's Prayer. So I imagine that's probably going to be sideboarded fairly often. I could be wrong, but you know, I'm still very new to the game, so I'm sure I'll learn these things. The more I play, the more I get down to the local game store and play some games. Just more stuff here. Using melee damage from an attack action card and arcane damage from rune chants to split the damage creates a dilemma for how the enemy can defend themselves. And if they do not have prevention cards or arcane barrier, your arcane damage will be unpreventable. So as I was saying earlier, arcane damage is great because they can't defend it through normal sort of using defense cards from your hand. And then we've got Powered by Rune Chant. So Viserai has many extremely powerful cards at his disposal, but strong cards come at a high price. Viserai is able to channel the power of Rune Chants to reduce the cost of his cards by 1 for each Rune Chant he controls. You can create strategies where you amass an army of Rune Chant auras over a number of turns, setting up to play the most expensive card in Flesh and Blood for free, which is the 9th Blade of the Blood Oath, which I actually do have. So I did get all of these cards on screen in my Arcane Rising box opening, which you can go back and watch if you do want to watch it. So I've obviously got, let's switch the screens out quickly so you can see in the flesh what I got. So I got the Mordred Tide, so that's always good. Is that going to focus? Yep. Mordred Tide. So at the end of turn, if you would create a Rune Chant token instead, create that many +1, go again. So that's basically a hardened scales in Magic terms for your Rune Chant tokens. What else was there? We had the Read the Runes, so that's absolute staple in Rune Blade decks. So create a Rune Chant token, just a little generic action card, which can be used to defense as well, and can be pitched also, which is absolutely insane. And then we had another one on the screen as well, but I've already forgotten what it was. It was the 9th Blade of the Blood Oath, wasn't it? So I did have one of those as well. There it is, 9th Blade of the Blood Oath, which is brilliant. So it costs 1 resource less to play for each Rune Chant you control. It does 9 damage, but it costs 9 to play. So it's quite a high-costed attack, but a massive payoff if you do build up to that attack, basically. So let's go back onto the browser share. So those 3 cards I do actually own as a result of the Arcane Rising box, which I thought was a good success. So yeah, you can go check that out on the previous video. I did stream it live, and I probably will be streaming more box openings live at another stage. Go and check those out. So yeah, Powered by Rune Chant. When you play your expensive attack action cards that are reduced by the amount of Rune Chants you control, those Rune Chants will also fire at the enemy, threatening them to bury them in a torrent of sword and sorcery. So I think there's a couple of videos online of the 9th Blade of the Blood Oath being the massive finisher in Viserai style decks. So 9th Blade of the Blood Oath is just one of those cards that can just bury them in an aforementioned torrent of sword and sorcery. So yeah. But all in all, yeah, Viserai is definitely the character that I'm going to be building, and I cannot wait to use it, to be honest. I mean, I can't wait to get my hands on more and more products as time goes on. It's just it's just turning out to be an awesome game and an awesome opportunity to get involved with the community and do videos and all that sort of good stuff. So let's go on to the about quickly and just have a look at some of the other cards that are worth having a look at. We should mention as well that Viserai Runeblood, his main ability is whenever you play a Runeblade card, if you have played another non-attack action card this turn, create a rune chant token. So obviously the character himself does spew out rune chant tokens, which is nice. So we've also got some other stuff here which could have been good to get. We've got Tome of the Arknight, Become the Arknight, which I didn't get. I didn't get Arknight Ascendancy in my pack either, and I didn't get Grasp of the Arknight in my packs either. So those are really, really good cards to potentially get. So Arknight Ascendancy, Grasp of the Arknight, and Become the Arknight, Tome of the Arknight, all cards I haven't actually got from my Arcane Rising set. So I'm going to get another one, so stay tuned. But yeah, let's just have a look at this one. Tome of the Arknight. Reveal the top 2 cards of your deck. If you reveal an attack action card and a non-attack action card this way, put them into your hand and go again. So that's a nice little card draw engine there. And it can be pitched, obviously, which is good. We've got a couple of Viserai specializations, which I think are they legendary or mythic or majestic? Yeah, majestic, aren't they? Which are obviously always going to be good, depending on which class you are. And then we've got Mordred Tide, obviously I've got one of those. Grasp of the Arknight, which is the legendary equipment for the Runeblade, which is good. Once per turn action, you can pay 2 resources to create a rune chant token. This ability costs an additional resource to activate for each rune chant you control, and then go again. So you get the ability to just create more rune chant tokens, but obviously it costs more for each rune chant you control. So it's just another way of just spewing out rune chant tokens if you don't have any for whatever reason. So yeah, the aim of the game with Viserai is to just create loads of rune chant tokens, reduce the cost of your massive attacks, deal with dilemmas in the fact of posing a threat to your opponent. Do you want to block my actual attack, or do you want to try and reduce the amount of damage you've got from arcane damage? What are you going to try and combat? That is a good thing about Viserai. And as well as that, I think it's good because in order for them to really sort of stop your arcane damage, they have to sideboard. They have to do something differently in order to stop the arcane damage, because not only do they have to block physical attacks, but they also have to block arcane damage, which is going to be very interesting, to say the least, when actually sort of experiment with this deck. Whether that's one-on-one or Ultimate Pit Fight, you will see more on the channel at some point. So thank you very much for tuning in. That has been my Viserai sort of how to play, get to know, insight series into the character, and I cannot wait to build Viserai. So let's go back to the main talking head screen. Viserai. Runeblood. There he is. Do you have a deck? Have you built him? Drop your comment in the section below and let me know what card you'd include, what your sort of deck list is, and yeah, I'd love to hear from you. So thank you very much for your time, and we will see you on the next one. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and hit the little bell notification if you want to be notified of any future videos. And also, the giveaway is still happening as well. So the giveaway is still going ahead. Obviously, we hit 50 subscribers, obviously, so there's going to be the main draw and some additional prizes as well. So if you haven't shared the post with friends and what have you, try and let's try and get that to 100 subscribers so another person can win 6 packs, 3 Arcane Rising and 3 Welcome to Brave. But yeah, go and check my previous videos with regards to the giveaway stuff, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Cheers.